Yo guys, and welcome back to another video, and welcome back to another Doctor Who video. Now, in today's video I want to talk a little bit about Doctor Who Season 2 and whether I think it could potentially be a turning point for Doctor Who, and whether I think it could, save the show, because it is no secret that Doctor Who has been in a pretty rocky place since the Jodie Whittaker era, and with things like declining viewership and very, very rocky writing decisions, Doctor Who has been sort of left suspended in the air at the moment as to which way it could go. There's a lot of people saying that the show could be cancelled, and I like to try and be as optimistic as I possibly can do with what we have. So I'm gonna basically be saying today about whether I personally think the show will be cancelled, and what sort of steps that Russell T Davies and the people who are going to be producing and making Doctor Who should take to point the show in a better direction than it currently is. So that is basically what we're going to be fully breaking down and talking about in today's video. So, just before we get into this video, please hit that subscribe button, smash a like on this video, and comment down below whether you think Doctor Who is going in a positive direction or currently a negative direction, and if it is going in a negative direction, in your opinion, or even a positive, like you could really think that it could be going in any. And yeah, basically put your suggestions in the comments down below of what you guys think Doctor Who should do to try and turn the show in a new direction which would benefit it as a show. So yeah, let's get into this video, hit that subscribe button, and let's go. So, I have been making a lot of Doctor Who reviews recently, and at this current moment we are halfway through Season 2. And personally, these episodes have not been the most insane episodes. Yes, I do think that some of the episodes and some parts of the episodes in particular are an improvement from Series 1. I'd like to particularly say that The Well was a really, really strong point of this season so far. And I am going to be dropping my full breakdown and review videos, but they just take a very, very long time to make. And I'm in the process of making the next couple of them right now. And I have just dropped the Lucky Day breakdown and review. No, sorry. The Lux breakdown and review. That has just been dropped. And I'm going to be working on The Well and getting that one dropped. Basically, either tonight or tomorrow night. I'm really, really working on trying to get them out. But yeah, if you want my full in-depth breakdown and review where I literally go through the entire episode and break down every single point, pick out every single piece of the writing which contradicts other pieces, and properly do like a full deep dive into the actual episodes, then please do go ahead and check out my full episode breakdowns and reviews. They are some longer content, so it's definitely something to watch when you've got a snack or something like that. But it is definitely a watch. It's definitely worth a watch because, well, just even like a casual viewer of Doctor Who, the more you look into these episodes and the more you break them down and the more you sort of take points and look really, really far into them, the more these episodes seem to fall apart a little bit for me. Like, for example, when I go and do these breakdown and reviews and I properly go over with a fine-tooth comb these entire episodes, I am then likely to pick up more things like writing errors or contradictions within characters, and I pick up a lot more of them when doing that than I do on my first initial watch of the episode. So it's definitely interesting to get like a bit of an insight on that kind of thing, and yeah, just that entire thing entirely. But the main question is, what is sort of going on with Doctor Who right now, and is Series 2 going to be that series to revive Doctor Who? Now, in my opinion, I think the only way that Season 2 can be a revival to Doctor Who is if this finale is really, really good. And Doctor Who seems to be at its strongest when Russell T Davies doesn't focus on his more political opinions and basically putting them into episodes. So I think, for example, an episode like The Well is much stronger because it does focus a little bit more on the actual characters instead of trying to take a message or a point and broadcast it to the audience. So that's one of the reasons for why The Well is a strong episode in my point of view. Another reason why it is quite a strong episode, and why I think that episode did so well, is simply because The Well features a returning villain. And that is something that we don't really see a lot of in this new era of Doctor Who. We see a lot of new villains, and new characters, etc., and new monsters introduced. But we don't see an awful lot of returning villains or monsters from the series previously. And we all know what happened to the Jodie Whittaker era, where they literally had no returning villains or monsters. I'm of course talking about Series 11. And Series 11 was probably the worst series of Doctor Who I've ever watched. And it's my least favourite out there. And I feel like a lot of the episodes that I dislike more from this new Disney Plus era of Doctor Who are episodes without returning villains, and they are also episodes where there is a strong political messaging that is clearly the centre of the episode. And I'm not here to basically scream like so many other channels do, Doctor Who woke, because that's definitely not what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying to come at this from a sort of a very neutralised central perspective, because it is quite obvious that there are key points in some of these episodes which are quite obviously politically motivated. And I think that, coupled with episodes with no returning villains and just that unfamiliarity, is definitely something that I think isn't going to do the show any favours in this current state. So, what do I think could be done to actually improve the show? Now, I've got two separate ideas which I think could massively improve the show. Idea number one is to get more returning villains in. Get the Silurians back, get the Zygons back, get the Sontarans back. Have a feature from the Daleks or Cybermen, because we haven't had one in the entirety of Season 1, and it doesn't look like we're getting one in Season 2 either. So, yeah, get some of them key, iconic villains that make Doctor Who feel like Doctor Who back. And, again, another thing that I would say about this new era of Doctor Who, it feels very much like there is something missing. And I think it may be to do with these returning villains and aliens and monsters, because it just feels like there is just something missing like a little sparkle that was present back in the Matt Smith, the David Tennant, Christopher Eccleston, Capaldi era, even that is present in the Whittaker era, although I would say it's not as present in the Whittaker era. And realistically, I didn't feel it very much in Series 11, but when you start bringing back different characters, like especially the Cyberman episodes, like although the writing of them episodes were quite poor in Series 12, there was still that little bit of a sparkle. You're seeing the Cybermen back on the screen. You're seeing this iconic villain. Really, really nice to see them back on screen. And that's something that I really can't say about this new series. So I'd say, even if something happens and Disney drops Doctor Who, go back to the roots. Go back to the BBC roots and get back some of these fan favourites, because we really, really do need them. And yeah, I'm definitely thinking now, like, that could be one of the main reasons why the viewing figures are dropping and Doctor Who doesn't feel quite like Doctor Who. There are elements, of course, there are definitely elements of Doctor Who in there, but it feels different, and I know a lot of fans are feeling that as well. And yeah, now we have a second sort of option, and this second option is to do with the hiatus. And if Doctor Who goes on a hiatus for a year, a couple of years, and wants to make a return, I think Doctor Who should release something different. Do something really, really different. Maybe something just big that would shake up the entire scene, but bring Doctor Who back in a very, very iconic way, and then maybe start off with your new series after it. I'm of course talking about something like a movie. Now, of course, the TV movie didn't go down too well back in the end of the 90s, but I'm thinking something very, very different. Now, what is one thing that is very, very popular at the moment, and there's lots and lots of movies being made about it? Horror. Now, horror is something that I personally think is very, very underrated in Doctor Who. Think of them slightly horror-esque episodes in Doctor Who, like Blink, like, you know, there's so many different bits and pieces in episodes that are like, for example, from like the Matt Smith era, Hyde was a horror episode, and that was kind of an interesting one as well. Now, I wouldn't say it's my favourite Doctor Who episode, but it definitely has that something about it. And I think if Doctor Who paired a villain with a good horror story and released it as a Doctor Who horror movie, I think that could be a really, really good potential to get it almost back in the main light even more so, and just take Doctor Who in a new direction, tweak it for older audiences, and give old Doctor Who fans something to latch onto and think, oh, this is something different, and this could be really, really cool. For example, take something like the Weeping Angels, for example, and throw the Weeping Angels into some confined space. Maybe it's like a spaceship that is stranded in some random place in space and time, and the Doctor boards the spaceship, they find life signs aboard, and there's Weeping Angels infesting it. That could be a really cool horror story. Maybe do something with the Cybermen. Maybe have the Cybermen on some sort of distant planet where they have crashed and sort of been infected. Like, the idea of doing something like a zombie Cyberman could be really, really, like, terrifying. Almost giving, like, them sort of zombie stormtrooper vibes that Star Wars... There's been rumours of Star Wars doing something like that. But imagine how strong, like, of a horror story you could... or like a horror movie you could get with, like, a zombified Cyberman. That would be something really, really cool. Maybe it gets, like, infected by some sort of, like, rapidly spreadable disease that turns and, like, rots bodies or something like that. Like, that is something that I think would be really, really cool. Also, you could really, really play with the idea of having, like, just a much more darker... I know a lot of people love when Doctor Who goes darker as well. But yeah, having this, like, darker, gritty horror story vibe with a movie and an iconic villain returning would be a really, really cool idea. Another one that they could do, if they wanted to go down the generic route of bringing about the Daleks, they could do a story kind of similar to Asylum of the Daleks, where, in terms of visually, where maybe the Doctor or the companion gets beamed into some abandoned space station or some abandoned planet where there's some Daleks or something like that, or some dormant Daleks. Could definitely be... You could really, really explore, like, all of them different ideas and create something that would be really, really interesting as a horror film. And if they did, like, a horror film... Say they did, like, the Weeping Angel horror film or something like that. I think that would be a really, really good way to get people talking about Doctor Who in a way, especially the older audiences as well. And then that could be something that you could launch, have a pretty successful outturn with something like that. And again, it's something new that Doctor Who hasn't really done before, and it's something to generate a bit of an outturn as well, and then use that as your fuel to launch the next season of Doctor Who. That would be really, really cool. And it's something that I think people like Russell T Davies and higher ups within Doctor Who as a show should really be thinking about, because at the current trajectory of Doctor Who, I see it going on a little bit more of a downwards spiral at the moment. And out of every single episode that Ncuti Gatwa has done so far, my favourite by a mile, I've always found a lot of his episodes as not like terrible, as in not as bad as the Series 11 Jodie Whittaker era, not anywhere near as great as the Matt Smith or David Tennant or Christopher Eccleston or Capaldi era, but kind of suspended in that mid section right here. And the only one that really peaked up for me is The Well, because again it's toying with that idea of Doctor Who going with a horror theme, and I think it, again, like The Well is a really, really good example of when Doctor Who uses horror and it does it well, because there's definitely some moments in The Well that were quite chilling, and I think they did it pretty well in that episode. As always, there is some little things that they could improve on, and some narrative and story kind of things that they could improve on, but overall, I genuinely enjoyed the episode, and I thought it was a really decent episode. So, yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on Doctor Who Season 2 at the moment, from the halfway point, and whether I think it could realistically save the show, and what I would do to, or what, if I could say anything to Russell, what I would say for as ideas to take the show in a bit of a different direction whilst trying to pump some more life into it and get it back in the public eye, just like it used to be when sort of David Tennant was in the role and Matt Smith was in the role, because it was very, very much such a iconic part of British television and British history. It would be such a shame for Doctor Who to die out or have to go on hiatus for an extended period of time, and it would be a shame to see the show that a lot of people really, really loved and enjoyed fizzle away. And that's definitely not something that I want to see happen. And I'm really, really hoping that Russell can get another good couple of episodes in, a bit like The Well, and really, really kickstart Doctor Who back into where it should be, pulling a ton more viewership and being able to do what they want with it, I suppose, and produce some really, really strong stories and everybody talk about it and everybody be excited about it. I miss that. I really miss the excitement about waiting every single week and being excited for next week's episode, and that's been missing for so long from Doctor Who that, yeah, I do miss it. I miss that side of being a Doctor Who fan and the general excitement around it all. But yeah, that is basically the end of this whole video. I hope you guys enjoyed whatever this video was. If you watched until the end, thank you guys so much for watching and supporting these videos. Quick reminder, if you want to go ahead and check out some of the breakdown and review videos, they are out. They are longer, but definitely worth a watch to see what it's like to what it's like really breaking down these episodes. It's definitely worth a watch. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the end of this whole video, so thank you guys so much for watching. Please comment, like and subscribe as always, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace. More Doctor Who videos coming very, very soon. I've got like tons to release, so yeah, more Doctor Who content coming very, very soon. Peace.